Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all. Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my Bookish channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books. Today I am filming a quick opening for my monthly vlog. I don't know if I'm supposed to do an opening or not, but I'm throwing one in here. I don't know if I'll do it in the future. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you enjoy going with me on my reading journey throughout January. As you watch, let me know what you like, what you don't like, so that I know what to do in future vlogs. So, hope you enjoy. So, it's Saturday morning, the first, weekend of the new year. I mean, I know technically last weekend started the new year, but it was a holiday, so I feel like that doesn't count. This is a normal weekend. So I thought it would be a good place to start and kind of just talk a little bit about how I'm feeling about all of the books that I picked to read this month. So starting with Twin Crowns by Katherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. I am 12 chapters into this book so far, and it's starting out really, really cute. We've got two twin sisters. They were kind of separated at birth. One has been raised in this palace. She's about to be crowned queen. The other one was raised by this group of witches. The princess doesn't know that she has a sister. The one that was raised by witches, she does know. And now they've kind of done a parent trap situation where the witch girl has now taken the place of her sister. The sister's been kidnapped. That's pretty much all that's happened so far. I think it's a really cute setup. I love the witches and the twin switch and all that stuff. It does seem like each girl is being set up for a romance, and I hope that that doesn't take over the whole story. I know YA fantasy and romance is a very popular trope, so I'm hoping that it doesn't overtake the rest of the story. That's what I'm hoping to get out of this one. Next up, Rose Madder by Stephen King. I am about 100 pages into this one, and this one is a tough read so far, a very tough read. It's about this woman who's being physically abused by her husband, and the detail in which King writes, it almost makes you feel like you're being abused because he's just so descriptive. You can really feel what this woman is feeling. You can see it in your head, these injuries that she's getting, and it's horrible. To me, this is more horrifying than The Stand, than It. It's more horrifying than any monster tale because it's real life. This really happens to people. So it's kind of hard to read. But King is a master storyteller, and I am already super invested in Rose's story. I'm hoping that wherever this book goes, I just hope that she comes out on top or in a better place than when this book starts. As I mentioned in my TBR video, I'm still working my way through The Hunger of the Gods with David over at David's Book Reviews. We're making pretty good progress. I'm on chapter 53 as of filming this section of the video, and both David and I agree that this book is not quite as exciting as the first one was. You would think that a book with a giant wolf god on the cover would be super exciting, but it's not, because this wolf god and some of the other gods that are in this story actually spend most of the story in their quote-unquote human forms. So not only are they in their human forms, but they're not at full power, so it's there's really not that much going on. I feel like it's setting up for something bigger, so I'm hoping that whatever that bigger thing is actually happens before the end of the book. If nothing happens by the end of the book and we have to wait until book 3 to find out what happens next, I'm probably going to be a little disappointed. Next up, my rando book, The Beresford by Will Carver. So far, I have found this book incredibly entertaining. I'm in chapter 30, and which sounds high, but the chapters are very short. So each chapter is only a couple pages. So I'm only this far into the book and already at chapter 30. but it's just written in such a way that it's like, it's humorous at the same time that it's horrifying. And if you've been around here for a while, you will know that when horror and humor cross, it's like one of my absolute favorite things. So the book starts out, we have this young, nerdy guy that has accidentally killed his neighbor. So half the chapters are about him trying to figure out how to dispose of this dead body. And the other chapters are about this girl, Blair. She's the new resident at the Beresford. She's just moved in. She's getting to know Abe the killer. And it's really entertaining. And it's written in a style that is different than what you would expect. And so far, having a good time with it. Hopefully it can keep up that level of humor throughout the rest of the book. Also reading YA Fantasy Throne of Glass, my Sarah J. Maas book. I am at chapter 12, and so far I think this book is promising. I can definitely tell that it's more YA than like Crescent City because there's not nearly as much cursing or violence or sex. But I feel like it's setting up a good story here. We've got a young girl. She's an assassin. She has just been taken out of prison and offered a chance of freedom. Like, hey, we'll release you from your sentence if you agree to be a champion for the king. So now she's about to enter this tournament and fight a bunch of other assassins to see if she can become this champion. I don't know where it's going to go from there. I have no idea what goes on in the series. I have not looked into it that deeply because I want to be surprised. So I think it has a promising start. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this turns out to be as good as I'm hoping that it will be. Next up, continuing the Raven cycle with the Dream Thieves. I am also 12 chapters into this one. And this book had a really interesting start because one of the characters, this boy named Ronan, I have to go back and check because I'm pretty sure that this book starts and Ronan has this power. And I believe that he did have this power in book 1, but they never really talked about it or mentioned it. And then all of a sudden, it's like chapter 1, oh, Ronan has this crazy power. And I guess this isn't really a spoiler because it's on the back of the book. But basically, he can dream. And when Ronan dreams, he can actually take physical objects out of his dream. And like I said, this was alluded to in book 1, but never really called out, but seems to be like one of the main plot lines in this book, which I think is interesting. So not much has happened, only a few chapters in. They're talking about this new power. There's a new villain that they've introduced, the Gray Man. Don't know anything about him yet, but definitely more questions and no answers so far. Again, I hope we get some more answers in this book. And then finally, my book box book is Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. This came in an Owl Crate book box back last year, and I think I want to say in the beginning of 2022. So this is about a realm that is under this curse where there's all these nightmares that come to life. I did not plan it this way, but it's interesting that I'm reading 2 books that have to do a lot with dreams. But there's kind of this kingdom that's under this curse where all these nightmares come to life. And then there's like a prophecy that this curse can be broken if certain things happen. So we have a young girl named Clementine. Her and her father are what they call like dream wardens. So basically they're in charge of protecting their town from nightmares. So whenever a nightmare appears, they help to get rid of it. But what ends up happening is that these 2 like strangers come into town and they're like, hey, we want to be the dream wardens of this town, so we're going to challenge you to a duel. And that kind of sets off a series of events. So again, I think it's an interesting setup. I think it's an interesting story. We've got some interesting characters in here. I have no idea where this one is going. So I'm only on chapter 10 of this one, so it's either going to turn out to be great or boring. I don't know yet. maybe when I do like a halfway point check-in, I'll have a better idea of how I feel about this book. So that's all for my reading check-in for this week. I'll do another check-in maybe when I'm like halfway through, and then maybe towards the end of my reading. See you later. Roscoe, what are you doing? Roscoe,
baby.
Stop chewing on the flowers.
Hi, baby. Hi, sweetie.
Oh, such a cute boy. Beepers, you're cute too. You're cute too. You're such a cute boy. Look how big you're getting. You were such a baby. Stop chewing on Mama's flowers. Stop chewing on Mama's flowers. You're a pretty girl too, Meeps. You're a pretty girl too. You're much smaller than Roscoe. You're much smaller than Roscoe. Meepers. Meepers. Pow, pow. Hi, readers. It's the second weekend in January. I thought it'd be another good time for a check-in for this vlog because if you've been following me over on Instagram, you will know that my reading has significantly changed over the past week because the impossible has happened. I have ditched my TBR for a new book. Actually, I should probably clarify that. I have not ditched my entire TBR. So I'm about halfway through most of the books that I had started reading. So Throne of Glass, The Dream Thieves, The Beresford, etc., etc., etc. The Hunger of the Gods, the one that I am buddy reading with David over at David's Book Reviews, I am still actively reading this. We only have like about 100 pages left. Like, I'm going to keep reading this no matter what because I committed to doing this buddy read. I need to finish it. However, the rest of the books that I was reading, I have stopped ever since last Tuesday when Hellbent came out. I would say, like, I try to keep reading them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but by the end of the week, you know, I was like, I just need to read Hellbent. I did put a poll up over on my Instagram to say, hey, should I ditch my TBR or keep reading the books that I've already started? And everyone voted pretty much to ditch my TBR except for my buddy read. So that is what I'm doing. Basically, what happened is my husband was kind enough to go out and grab me this book when I was at work. So he brought it home. Tuesday night, I opened it and I'm like, well, let me just take a peek at, you know, the first chapter. And then I read the first 5 chapters and then I read the first 10 chapters and now I'm up to chapter 17. So what do I think about this book so far? I like the book so far because I'm interested in Alex's journey. So she's our main character. If you don't know anything about this series, I did do like a full, pretty in-depth review on Ninth House, which I will link above. But the basic setup is that there's this young girl named Alex. She goes to Yale in New Haven, and at Yale, she is part of this secret society called Leigh House, aka the Ninth House. And Leigh House is basically supposed to oversee all of the other societies at Yale. So think about, you know, Skull and Key, Manuscript. There's all these different secret societies and they all deal with like different areas of the occult. So like one of the houses or societies is really into like creating these portals so they can like kind of travel around the world. One is really interested in controlling the weather. And Leigh house. Their role is basically to like oversee, make sure none of their rituals get out of hand, etc., etc., etc. In book 1, there is a murder, and the girl who is murdered is what's known as a townie. So she's not even a student at the school, she's just a girl from town, and everyone wants to basically kind of write off this murder as, like, it doesn't have anything to do with any of the houses, it doesn't have anything to do with the school, like, whatever. But Alex, because of her background as someone herself who's used to kind of being cast aside, is like, no, there's something else going on here. I'm going to dig into it. And boy, does she get into it, and boy, do things get dark. So there's a lot that happens in that book, a lot. And this book takes place, like, I guess if Ninth House was like her freshman year, like a whole bunch, like the summer months went by, and now a new year is starting at Yale. So now Alex is kind of trying to deal with the aftermath of like all the things that happened in book 1. One of those things being that there was a young boy named Daniel Arlington, aka Darlington, that mysteriously disappeared in the first book. No one knows where he went, etc., etc. But by the end of that book, Alex finds out that, well, she doesn't really know. She still does not 100% know what happened to Darlington, but she suspects that there may be a way to rescue him, save him, possibly. Again, not 100% sure if he's still alive, but if there's a chance that he might be, she's going to do whatever she can to try and save him. So that brings us to Hellbent, where we basically have 2 plot lines going on. Plotline number 1 is that Alex and one of her friends, another member of Leigh House, this other girl named Dawes, are investigating how they can potentially save Darlington. They think they know where he is, or where he might be. They don't know, though, if he's really alive, if he's a ghost, he might be a demon. Like, they're not really sure, but at the end of the day, they care about him, and if one of them were in trouble, he would do whatever he could to save them, so they're trying to do whatever they can to get him back as well. Even though they've been told by the school administration and etc. that they should let it go, but they're not letting it go. So that's kind of like plot line number 1, and that's the thing I'm most interested about so far. However, there is a secondary plot line now that has come forward in which there are more murders taking place. That's right, more murders. And I don't have an issue that more murders are happening, but it is giving me, it is making me worried a little bit. Roscoe says he's very worried too. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Roscoe is very worried that Hellbent might be suffering from sequelitis. Thank you, Roscoe. And what I mean by sequelitis is sometimes sequels tend to follow like the same formula as the first book. And in the first book, there was a murder. There's a murder in this book. In the first book, there were alternating chapters of like present and past tense. And so far in this book, there are also alternating chapters of present and past tense. However, the past tense in this one is kind of this what happened over the summer, which I feel like is another plot line that I don't know what it has to do with the other plot lines yet, but hopefully we'll find out. I will say that the constant switching back and forth between past and present did get a little annoying in the first book, so I'm hoping that that's not the case here. Now, I did do a little peek through the rest of the chapters to see if I could see, do they constantly reference different dates and stuff like that? And it looks like the flashbacks do stop at some point or become less. And I'm hoping that that's the case, because that is one of the few things, the very, very, very few things that made the previous book like less than perfect. I loved it. It's nearly perfect. That's the only thing that I would have changed, is maybe less flashbacks. So overall, a very promising start to this book. I do have a couple concerns, worries, but I'll check back in at the halfway point and let you know how it's going. Before I sign off for today, there is one other thing I wanted to mention, and if you are still watching at this point in the video, I want you to let me know if you are curious about this, and that is I have gotten the opportunity to do another beta read for this year. I'm not going to say who it's for or what it's for right now, but if you're interested in, I'd say, learning about like what it is to be a beta reader, like kind of what you have to do, sort of the process through that, I can definitely share that as part of the future blog, because this beta read is definitely going to be probably going through next month as well into February. So if that's something you want to hear more about, definitely let me know in the comments section. Otherwise, I'll just say, hey, I'm doing it, and I'll let you know when I'm done. Okay, so it's not quite the third weekend in January. It's a Thursday. I literally just checked to see what day it was and I forgot. But it's the Thursday before the third weekend of January, and I just wanted to pop on really quick because it's laundry night, and I have finished Hellbent and I have finished The Hunger of the Gods. So because I finished those two books, that means that I am back to reading my regular scheduled TBR, which was The Dream Thieves, Twin Crowns, Throne of Glass, The Beresford. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting one or two in there. But I just wanted to talk really quick about Hellbent and The Hunger of the Gods. I'm not going to say much about The Hunger of the Gods. I don't have them with me, so I'll put up an image somewhere. Because this was a buddy read that I was doing with David, I'm going to wait for our review to talk more about that particular book. All I will say about it here, sneak preview for you, is that I liked this book. I did. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty solid sequel. However, I didn't love it as much as I loved the first one. The Shadow of the Gods, the first one, ended up on my top 10 for 2022. I'm not sure that The Hunger of the Gods would end up on a same list for 2023. Maybe, I mean, you never know, but my gut tells me it probably won't, but that's okay. Like I said, I still enjoyed it. It's still a solid read, but I'm going to talk more about what I liked, what I didn't like, and all the details once I do my review of that one later this month or maybe early next month. And then as far as Hellbent goes, I believe in my last check-in, I can't remember exactly how far into the book I was, but I was having some concerns because it was feeling a little bit repetitive from book one. I am happy to say that my opinion completely changed, and I ended up absolutely loving this book. Absolutely loving it. I could not put it down, especially the second half of the book. Oh man, things just got so crazy. I think, as I was saying, we kind of have this character, Alex. She's the main character, and she kind of has a group of friends, and they're trying to rescue like a fellow friend, a teammate, if you will, that may or may not be trapped in hell. The truth is, they don't even really know. Like, they don't know if he's alive, if part of him is alive, if they can save his body, soul, his mind. They really have no idea, but they're gonna try and do it anyway. And oh man, do things go wrong. Things go so wrong. And I absolutely love this book. I mentioned that some of the flashbacks were a bit annoying in the first half of the book. Those completely went away in the second half, which was awesome. I was also a little bit worried about the murder mystery part of that. And yeah, that's still in there, but I am totally on board with the way that it played out in the second half of the book. So Hellbent was an amazing sequel to Ninth House. I assume that there will be a third book at some point. I don't know for sure. The way the book ends, like it could go either way. It could just be the end or there could be another one. But I really hope that there is another one because I really liked it. So yes, I will be doing a full review breakdown about all the things other than what I've shared on here. So that will be hopefully coming out soon by the time I post this video. I don't know. Sometimes schedules get a little crazy, but my sneak peek preview for you here is that I really liked it. If you liked Ninth House, I think you will like Hellbent. If you hated Ninth House, I think you'll probably hate Hellbent too. They're very similar, but yet different at the same time. That's really all I can say for now. So now that I've told you my feelings on Hellbent and The Hunger of the Gods, I need to go back to reading all the other books I was trying to read. There's not that much time left this month, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish every single one of these books, but I'm going to try.
So we put some tape around this tube because Roscoe was chewing on it. Roscoe, are you trying to tear the tape off? Are you trying to tear the tape off that we tried to prevent you from eating it? Can you stop? Can you stop trying to tear the tape off? Thank you. Oh, you're so tough. You're so tough. Are you going to bite me? Oh, you're so tough. You're so tough. He's so gentle. If he wanted to hurt me, look at those fangs. He could, but he doesn't because he's a sweet boy. He's a sweet boy. Yes. You're such a monster, aren't you? Bless you. Such a little monster. Stop being a monster. Stop being a monster. Get it. Get it, Roscoe. Get it. Oh, you got it. You're so tough. You're so tough. You're so tough. You're so tough. You're so tough, Roscoe. You're so tough. Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. You're so cute. Who's a crazy boy? Who's a crazy boy? You're so... No, don't jump off the bed. Don't jump off the bed. No. Wah! Oh, you want a treat now? Aw. Okay, I guess you can have one.
It's now the third weekend of January, and this will probably be my last update until like my final one. I don't even know how people end vlogs, but I'll make it up. But anyway, as I previously said, I am back to reading my normal TBR. However, yeah, I'm not going to have time to finish all these books this month. I'm just not. So one of them, at least for starters, I'm going to have to set aside, and unfortunately, it's going to be Rose Matter by Stephen King. I'm not DNFing this book because I don't DNF, but I am going to hold off finishing it until February. So this book is set to the side for now. So that means I still have 5 other books I'm trying to finish, one not pictured here because I don't know why I didn't grab it before this video. But that's okay because really the 2 things I wanted to update today were A, leaving off Rose Matter, and then B, I actually have finished 2 books, which are Throne of Glass and The Dream Thieves. I don't want to talk too much about them because then what's the point of doing a wrap up? But I will just say that this ended up being very surprising. You know, I'm going to talk about this more, but when I read Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, I liked it, but I didn't love it. This book, I loved. I loved this book. I loved it. I can't wait to talk more about it and tell you what I loved about it and why I definitely like this better than Crescent City. For a number of different reasons. I'll go into it further once I do a review and breakdown and all that stuff. But if you're still watching, sneak peek, I loved this one. Same with Dream Thieves. I've talked a lot about how sequels can be hard, and sequels are hard. And a lot of books have sequelitis, where they try to, copy what the previous book did well and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever read a book that is like so completely different from the first book. Everything about this book, like the way that the characters are addressed, the plot, even the world building, well, maybe not the world building, but it feels like a completely different book, but yet totally fits into the series and into this world. I can't remember the last time I read a sequel that made me feel that way. So I think I'm gonna have to think on this one for a while, because the ending of this book was crazy. It was unexpected. It was crazy. There was a lot of unexpected things with the characters. There's a lot of unexpected stuff with the plot. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, other than I enjoyed it. Like, I cannot wait to pick up the third book, which I'm definitely going to start. But I don't know. This book, like, it threw me for a loop a little bit, I guess. But not in a bad way. Not in a bad way whatsoever. So that leaves me with Twin Crowns, The Beresford, and Dreams Lie Beneath. I'd say out of those three books, I don't know, I'm really enjoying Dreams Lie Beneath. That's turning out to be a really cute book. Twin Crowns is also a cute book, but I feel like I was expecting like an older YA book, and I think this one definitely skews a bit younger than I was expecting, which is not a bad thing. That's just how the story skews. And then The Beresford, I'm going to finish this tonight because there's like not very many pages left. This is the most hilarious book I've ever read about murder. I'm going to say that a lot. This book was a delight, and it's about murder, and it's quite gruesome at parts, but it's also hilarious at the same time. So that's all for a quick update today. 2 books finished, 3 to go. Rose Matter put to the side. Roscoe wanted to say hi, because now whenever I'm doing a video, he scratches at the door until I let him in. Roscoe, you show everyone how fluffy you are. You're so fluffy. You're so fluffy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? I knew this was going to be a short update, and now I have no idea how to end it, so I'm just going to end it here, and the next time I talk to you, hopefully I will have finished more of these books before the end of the month. Okay, here we are, January 31st, and we made it. We made it to the end of the month and finished the 3 books I wanted to finish, which were Twin Crowns, Dreams Lie Beneath, and The Beresford. As you recall from my previous updates, Rose Matter, I haven't picked it back up yet, but I will in February. But for now, I want to briefly talk about the experience of finishing these books. So, I'll start with the Beresford first. As I've been saying, as I've gone throughout this book, reading it, like, I've really enjoyed it, It's about a hotel where not only do people, like, die, but they, like, actually violently kill each other. And it sounds funny to say, but the way that it's written, it's like, it's humorous. And I love where humor and horror kind of mix and meet. However, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the ending. The ending of this book, it's not a bad ending. Like, it's not a horrible one by any means. But I don't think that it was the ending that I wanted. And sometimes when you don't get the ending that you want, you can, like, accept it, like, it wasn't the ending that I want, but I accept it and make sense of the story, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that was the case here. I feel like you could kind of argue either way. You could argue that it fits or that it doesn't fit, but for me, I feel like it doesn't. And it's hard to go into why without talking about spoilers, so I'll try to explain this as best I can here. I feel like everything that goes on in this book, there is nothing blatantly supernatural about it. Like, there's real people, real lives, people kill each other brutally and violently, and at a couple times it's like maybe implied or suggested that maybe there's something supernatural going on, but it's never established that it is. It's just kind of left to your imagination. But at the end, it kind of pulls away the imagination thing and kind of gives it to you. It gives you the answer. And I feel like I would have been better off not knowing that answer. I feel like I would have liked to keep that answer in my imagination. But the ending of the book hands you the answer. And I would have rather have not known. Which is really strange because normally I'm the type of reader that likes to know things. Like, I don't like cliffhangers and that kind of stuff. I like to know things, but I feel like that mystery, that not knowing, really worked in the book. So to have it kind of pulled away at the end, I don't think was the right choice. But again, I also don't think that it's an awful ending. I'm going to think about it some more, and then when I get around to doing, like, my full review, maybe I'll have some more, cohesive thoughts about it that will actually make sense. So next up, we have Twin Crowns, the story of twin girls separated at birth. One's been raised as a princess, one has been raised as a witch. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. This book, I think, was pretty cute. It's pretty cute. Again, the ending clearly is setting up for a sequel because not everything is resolved. It's hard to say whether or not it has a complete story arc because it's one of those situations where the A storyline has a complete arc, but then all of a sudden, at the very end of the book, they introduce, like, a B storyline, and then that storyline is not resolved at all. So it's like, this is a complete story. Oh, but look, there's a new story right here that we're not going to tell you anything about. We're just going to set it up for the next book. And yes, in this case, I do know that there is a sequel coming out for this. Now, I don't know if I would read that sequel. I'm going to have to think about that too. Because I like this book. And I think it's cute, but I also don't think, like, it didn't wow me. I feel like I say that a lot. It didn't wow me. I don't really know why. This is another one I feel like I'm going to have to think about for a few days and collect my thoughts and try and really pinpoint, like, what I really liked about it, because there's definitely things that I liked about it and what I didn't like about it, because I can't pinpoint anything I didn't like off the top of my head. I just know that it didn't wow me. So more to come on Twin Crowns. And then finally, Dreams Lie Beneath. I feel like this is a book that does have a bit of a wow factor. I really enjoyed this book too. Again, we have a young girl in a land that's plagued by nightmares, and she has been, like, fighting for her family, fighting to end this nightmare curse, fighting to get her family's home back. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And when the book really, in the second half of the book, when it starts getting deeper into the, like, mythology, if you will, like why there is this curse and how the curse gets broken and what caused it, and this secret, like, mountain, they call it a duchy, a mountain castle in the sky. Like, there's some cool stuff in here. And this, unlike what I said about Twin Crowns, this is a 100% complete story. If there is a sequel, it would have to be something completely new and completely different. because this is 100% a complete story. There's no threads left dangling. Everything is wrapped up. This is the type of story that I prefer. I'm not saying a cliffhanger can't be done well, because it can. There are ones I have read that I've actually liked. It's true. But I love that this is a complete story. I feel like, especially with YA fantasy these days, I'm going to go off on a tangent now, but I feel like it's very popular in YA fantasy to have a series instead of a standalone. I feel like people very rarely do standalone books anymore. Like, I feel like that's not as common as it used to be. So the fact that this is a complete story, I actually really appreciate. So here we are. We were right down to the wire with those last 3 books. But that's okay. I got it all done. Hopefully February is just as successful as January, even though there's less days in February, and I'm also getting ready for a pretty big trip in March, so February is going to be a little bit stressful, but we'll see how it goes. So if you made it all the way to the end of this vlog, thank you so much for sticking with me and my reading journey throughout the month. As always, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments below if you liked this vlog, what you liked about it, if there was anything you didn't like about it. I don't know how people do these every week, let alone every month. So this will definitely be a learning process for me, and I would appreciate your feedback. So until next time, happy reading.